You are tuned into Plática de Práctica in the classroom. On these episodes, we travel across Albuquerque to visit teachers in the creative spaces that they find themselves in. They will continue to share their tips and tricks, triumphs and struggles as they navigate the contemporary creative classroom. Thank you for listening. This is a special episode of Plática de Práctica because we have hit the road and we are not at the Albuquerque Museum for this episode. We're actually at Cochiti Elementary, and I'll let our guests introduce themselves and let us know what they teach and maybe how long you've been teaching.
My name is Lauren Finney, and I'm the music teacher here at Cochiti Elementary School. My job's unique in that I spend half of my week here teaching elementary music classes, and I spend the other half of my week as the lead mentor in our Visual and Performing Arts 101 for elementary performing arts. So I get to provide resources to our first and second year teachers. I've been teaching for now 11 years. I can't believe it's been, so long already. I feel like it's both been long and very short. So.
Did you start your career here in New Mexico?
No, I'm actually from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So I spent the first 5 years of teaching at a charter school out there before I moved.
Music as well?
Yes, music.
Okay. What's the difference that you see, like, I guess, from Pennsylvania to New Mexico? Like, is there any difference or something that stands out, either good or bad, I guess?
Culturally, there was a big shift for me growing up and living my entire life in Pennsylvania. I was surrounded by a lot of Midwestern people, and it's definitely a slower pace here in New Mexico. Everyone's so kind and friendly that I interact with, but I hadn't spent a lot of time around Native and Hispanic communities before I moved here, so I got to really grow into sort of learning a new culture.
That's awesome. And so with that, like, I guess, do you find that challenging? Did you find that like hard to begin with? And I wanted to add something a little bit after your answer. So, yeah.
So I moved here during COVID, like right as it was happening. And it was really difficult originally because I couldn't really spend a lot of time meeting people. I was sort of out, in my own. We were teaching online. But as we entered the classroom and I got to know the community members, I think the hardest part is the language barrier sometimes for me. I took French in high school. I never really saw myself needing to learn the Spanish language. And I really wish I had invested more time, and I've started to grow in that a little bit, but I certainly have a long way to come.
Yeah. I think any language, it's constant learning. And even me growing up speaking like Mexican and New Mexican Spanish, there's still dialects that I run into, or I remember a student at Cibola High School who was from Cuba, and I would have to ask him to slow down when he spoke in Spanish because I couldn't keep up with him. But I was going to say, I was actually earlier this morning looking at this AI program called Magic School. And I was looking at like developing a lesson for ceramics for 9th grade. And it came up with an activity where it asks like students to use like indigenous designs and stuff on their pottery. And I was like, well, in some instances and the majority, like you're not allowed to, or like the only, tribal members can use certain artwork or symbols so it's interesting, right? Because AI doesn't recognize the nuances of some of that. So that's why I was just working on that earlier this morning. So it made me think of that. And I would imagine, like coming from the Midwest, it's probably a big culture shift.
It's funny. Oh, I didn't mean to.
No, go ahead.
It's funny that you say that about the sacred symbols, because whenever I first visited here, my prior school sent me here for a conference, and I fell in love with New Mexico like right away. And I showed up at a tattoo shop to get a tattoo. I was like, I really need to like have a memory of this. Exactly. And I wanted to get the Zia symbol because that's the state flag of New Mexico. It's through and through New Mexican. And as I was doing research, I learned that you need permission from the Zia Pueblo. And so I chose something else. I chose the state cactus and a petroglyph, but I was able to, pick up on that pretty quick and apply it to my teaching. So I appreciated that situation.
I'm curious because, I mean, we sit across the way from each other in the office. Well, it's kind of a gap. It's not like we're right across from each other, but I was just curious, coming from the Midwest, like what kind of music are you into, like in your own personal life?
Yeah, so I grew up listening to a lot of pop punk. I think we share a love for Dashboard Confessional and a lot of other sort of emo music. I listened to that growing up. I think it's sort of like a millennial thing too, but I'm a big Swiftie, and my favorite band is called the 1975. They're from Britain, but I listen to all types of music. I sort of felt like I never really fit in my undergraduate degree because a lot of the people there are really big classical music fans, and I never really connected with that. So pretty much anything I'll give a try.
That's interesting. Patrick, who works in the office with me, and he's typically my sidekick for the podcast, but since I'm doing audio only for this episode, he's not here with me. But that's one thing we connected on was the music stuff. And now that we have Desiree in office, I'm like, hey, maybe we should start like a little emo band.
That'd be so fun.
A faculty emo band. Yeah, we'd have to definitely like change up our look a little bit, I think, some of us.
A little less buttoned up.
Yeah, and that's interesting because a lot of bands that I've been listening to a lot lately are Midwest emo stuff. So yeah, I like pop punk as well and whatnot. So yeah, and Dashboard, of course. Shout out Dashboard. Yeah. Cool. Well, I know we are on limited time because we are at the school, so there may be bells that ring or a door that opens or people working on something on the ceiling or the roof up there. So if anybody hears anything interesting, that's just the reality of being at a school that's live and well with kiddos here. So I do want to go through our questions, though, our pop quiz questions that we go through with every guest. And so if you're cool with that, we'll go ahead and jump into it.
Let's do it.
Cool. So our first question is, where do you find inspiration, motivation, or the drive to be an educator?
I was looking at this question earlier and I was like, oh man, this is a really thoughtful, deep question. And I think that it changes all the time because the reality is of being in the classroom is that some days are a lot harder than other days. And some days I really have to dig deep for that intrinsic motivation to get myself where I need to be. Ultimately, I think it's really playing a part in students' lives beyond just music, but knowing that I have a role in helping to shape them for who they are as people and hopefully getting them to appreciate music for music's sake. So I think that motivation is there, but also I've wanted to be a music teacher since I was 8 years old. Oh, wow. Yeah, way back when I knew, I had this really amazing music teacher. Her name is Mrs. Halsey, and she really was my driving force to become a music teacher, and I think it's always been inside of me. I never considered doing anything else. It's just who I am. So I don't know if that answers your question all the way, but yeah.
That's good. And I was actually going to say, like, maybe at the end of this, if you want to give a shout out to any teacher that has made a difference, but there you go. You got Mrs. Halsey.
Yeah, Mrs. Halsey.
Do you still keep in contact with her?
Loosely. Yeah, awesome. I messaged her on Facebook a couple times and she's retired. But she was really a huge influence on my family. Cool. Yeah, my little brother used to dress up and wear a suit every time he had music class because he wanted to impress her. And she had a private choir that I was a member of. And she she really just sort of saved me when I needed saving. That's awesome. Became a great mentor. So.
And you had her in grade school?
Yes, elementary school.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I told Lauren this as I was walking into with my tub of stuff that for the interview. There was a line of kids walking. I don't know if they're going to the library or what. They all had little books with them. And these are little guys, so mind you, they're elementary, right? Well, the teacher's like guiding them, telling them where to go, and the little guy's like, well, I want to go to music. And it just so happened that I'm walking by and coming over here. So you're definitely making an impact for the better with these kiddos. So
we try to make it fun as much as possible. Kids learn through play, and it's so important to have them have those experiences.
Yeah, here. Great. So my second question was, what is a quick tip or trick you can share with teachers when working with English language learners?
I think that's something that I actually would appreciate some tips and tricks on myself, but I have started to use translation in my teaching. So although I can, translate basic phrases or sort of like request to students who speak a different language. Anytime I need to say something a little bit bigger, I use Google Translate, which has been really helpful. But I did want to shout out something that I think is important to mention, because there are a lot of students in my classes who are bilingual. And I think as a teacher, we can rely a lot on those students to take on that extra role to be our translators, but we don't show them the appropriate appreciation. So anytime that I ask a student to be a translator, I always try to give them a special little thanks, whether it be a sticker or a pencil or some way to say, thank you for that above and beyond effort, because it shouldn't be their job. They're not the teacher. And I realize that's sort of my shortcoming. So.
Yeah. And I think historically, and I know this from personal experience with like even my wife's grandma, is they were shunned from speaking Spanish in the classroom here in New Mexico. So then they didn't teach their children to speak Spanish or whatever the case may be. So I think there's like generational trauma where we're speaking English. That's not what we do, as we speak Spanish. So some of that I think still resonates with some of these kids, that maybe I shouldn't speak up or help and I think that's important, that we show these students that, that's actually a skill to have, that you're multilingual and that you can communicate with people in a variety of ways, and whether it be in Spanish or sign or whatever, right? Like I think there's ways of recognizing that there's nothing to be ashamed of. Like these are skills that you have, that you come with, that can be helpful in settings. So that's
Absolutely.
Great. Yeah. I had that conversation with a teacher last year when I was supporting him. He asked, well, is it okay to use students like to translate? I'm like, yeah, like your community, develop that friendship, that relationship with students. And that way they see each other as like, we're all in this together. We all help each other out. The teacher shouldn't have to take on every single like issue or load or whatever. They can help guide some of that stuff, and that way, the students still, I think at the elementary school level, right, they're with each other all day. So if you can help kind of nourish and kind of supplement that relationship and build that, I think that's awesome. Yeah.
Thanks.
So question number 3. What is a tip or trick you can share with other teachers when working with students that have an individualized education plan?
Teaching music to all learners, it's really important to build a sense of community. So I use universal design for learning in my teaching, which is sort of a strategy that provides modifications and accommodations to all students, so no one singular student gets singled out. I also think it's important for everyone as part of the UDL to have a calm space and a fidget container. We call them fidget tools, not fidget toys in class.
That's awesome.
Just to have everybody have access to those items, so no one does feel singled out if they need a different tool to help them learn.
Yeah, I love that, because when I was at Cibola, there were these scissors, because I taught visual art, and they're these loop scissors, so they don't have like holes for your fingers. It's more like a ribbon, and you just squeeze and it kind of like bounces back.
Sure.
And so I remember I pulled some of those out and I just like put them out in like the general scissors. And people were like, what are these? What are these? And I'm like, those are like the best scissors ever. Like, look, try them. And next thing you know, like everybody in class was using those scissors.
Right.
Because I did have IGS students that had like motor skills that they struggled with. So it was perfect, because and then you normalize it. I said, oh, those are my favorite scissors.
Right.
And they're like, oh, well, this guy can use them, I can use them too. So kind of thing. That's awesome.
Yeah, especially in elementary school, like the kids see a fidget and they're like, oh, toy, I want to play with that. But it really is a tool that helps a lot of learners to focus. I have one in my hand right now. And, I just think it's important to provide access to all of our students for those materials, and teaching them, though, that this is a tool and not a toy, and there's an appropriate way and time to use them. So.
See, as you're talking about your fidget, I'm like twisting my wedding band right now. Like that's like my fidget that I have consistently with me.
Yeah.
No shame in that.
No, absolutely not.
All right. I have another question. Maybe you can share, like, what is a behavioral management issue that you faced, and like how did you solve it? Or if there's like a tip or trick that you can share for teachers to kind of like take in and think about.
I think a lot of people say that building relationships is really important. And although I do agree that that's an important piece of the puzzle, it's only a piece of a very, very large puzzle. Also, following a behavior improvement plan, all of those things are really important. But when they're in your classroom and they are feeling like big feelings. I think it's really important that we give two choices and allow them the sense of autonomy to make a decision for themselves. So many of our students, especially here in New Mexico, don't have a lot of choice or self-autonomy, especially at home. They don't know, maybe where they're laying their head at night or where their next meal is coming from, and they just want to feel in control. And they do that by being either stubborn or, really sort of making a decision that doesn't exactly align with classroom management or classroom rules and expectations. So providing that autonomy and saying, here are two choices, pick one of them.
Yeah.
And
I love that. And I glance over my shoulder right now, and you have a calming corner like in your classroom. I could see that as like being a useful thing where, give them a choice. Like, do you want to continue or do you want to go sit in the calming corner? And then they decide, like, are they capable of like continuing with the activity, or do they need a break? And I think recognizing that, especially for me, I think that would have been helpful as a young man, like knowing that I can control like some of this anger or anxiousness or whatever the case may be. So that's awesome that you do that.
Sometimes adults and teachers feel like they need to be the authority in the room, and if you don't do what I say, then there's an issue. And I completely understand that perspective because I have been that teacher. But there's growth in recognizing that students may need something different from us, and that could be taking a structured break or giving that choice or going for a walk. All of those different things for our kids.
That's awesome. All right. Question number 4. What has been a highlight project or activity that you're most proud of?
Wow. So I'm working on a project right now with Patrick, and we are creating elementary music TikToks. I say TikToks, but they're really like YouTube shorts, and they're on all of the platforms. And my students are involved in coming up with the ideas and creating them, and they are so excited. One of them went, I guess I would say like viral, semi-viral. And one of my students, who is normally I don't want to say resistant to music class, but he is learning his love for music. And he came in and he was so excited, and he was like, did you see somebody made a comment about me? And they said that I did really good at keeping the beat. And now every week he comes in so excited to learn. And that really just inspired him to, become a musician. So
that's crazy. Yeah. That's fun. That's awesome.
Yeah. And they get to like have a creative outlet and they feel like they're getting away with something, right?
Yeah.
Because they're doing like TikTok in the classroom.
So this kind of ties in. I don't know if your answer will change, but for the next question, who has been a student that has made you a better educator?
I have a student in Pittsburgh that made me a better educator. I was going through a really tough time in my personal life, and this student inspired me to follow special education in music. I didn't really know much about special education. I had a little training in undergrad, but not really that much. And this student needed a lot of support, but was just genuinely a kind soul. And I spent all of my prep time, all of my lunches, all of my extra time in that special education room learning about what it means to meet children where they are. And that student really inspired me to take the path that I've taken now, specializing in special ed in my master's degree and in my teaching. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think he's in middle school now. So
oh, cool.
Yeah, shout out to Taniko.
Yeah. You'll have to send him this episode.
Yeah.
Or just shout it out on TikTok since you go viral now.
Exactly.
Question number 6. What advice would you give your younger teacher self?
Oh man, there's so much advice that I would give myself, but I think the main takeaway is that it is okay to leave work at work and focus on home at home. In my early career, I wanted to be the best teacher I could, and I was working all kinds of crazy hours, making these amazing lesson plans and pouring everything I had into it. And I lost myself in it. And my identity was teacher and teacher only. And I think it's important for teachers to realize that although we make such a huge impact to our communities, that we deserve to have our own lives as well, and to just take a step back and
I think that's important. Yeah, we have to keep our cup full as well, because if we're running on empty, then it doesn't benefit anybody, not our students, not ourselves. So I think that's good advice.
Sometimes there's a little bit of like I've noticed and not necessarily the school I'm at now, but in previous schools that I've worked at, there's like this competitive, I came in early or I stayed late or I'm working all these extra hours, and it's easy to get in that mindset, but really just setting your own boundaries and following what you're meant to do, I think is important.
And I think it's going to be unique. I think, and it fluctuates, right? Like
yes.
Each teacher has their own niche, and it might work for some people. Like my wife is, as of late, has been up till about 1, and she's a teacher as well, and that works for her, and we've made it work and we figured it out. But it's also like I know for me, I'm not at my best if I'm going to not be sleeping properly and like, stressed out to the max. So yeah, it's like finding your niche as a teacher, and knowing that not, you don't have to be like your mentor teacher. You don't have to be like that teacher that maybe does get all the accolades for being there early and staying late and does this and that and club this, and that might not be you, and that's okay. Like I think recognizing that and just being your true self with your students is going to be way more impactful than trying to be something that you're not, or that's going to affect you outside of the classroom in your personal life or whatever the case may be. So, and
I think that can change throughout your career too, right? At the beginning,
seasonal for sure.
At the beginning of my career, it would cause me anxiety not to stay up until 1 a.m. and get my work done and make sure everything was perfect. So it's really something that can ebb and flow.
Yeah.
So thanks for that.
Great advice.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're wrapping up now. Do you have any final thoughts or anything that you want to add? Any other shout outs to any kiddos that go viral in your classroom?
Well, shout out to Mrs. Beer's 5th grade class. They were helping me create those TikToks, and they did a really great job with it.
Okay, cool.
But I mainly just want to say, if you're a teacher and you're listening, you're doing an incredible job, and teachers are underappreciated. And just know that there are so many people that are also teachers who appreciate what you're doing, even if they don't see you directly. And thank you for what you're doing and for your work.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. Shout out to all the teachers. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much for letting me join you in your classroom space. And we look forward to seeing you guys on TikTok again.
Thank you.